Hey y'all, I'm Eboni K. Williams here, host and attorney extraordinaire. Welcome to Holding Court, where we analyze the very latest in legal headlines, the ones that got all the streets talking. You know what we do? We dig deep into how the courts impact the culture. We break it down, going straight from gavel to your news feed. And every week, we keep it 100. Right, Dustin Ross?
That's right.
All right, jurors, what's up? What's up, Dustin Ross?
Hey, and one of my favorite places on earth to be, here holding court with you. What's going on, E?
I'm glad to be here, too. It's been an interesting Q1 as we get closer to wrapping up Q1. And we're going to take this energy, this same momentum. We're going to go right into Q2 with it. So let's get to this docket here. We want to... jurors go into the Wendy Williams of it all. And a few things have happened over the last few weeks concerning Wendy. I'm sure y'all are seeing it. She called in and did an interview with The Breakfast Club. She's also now called in and done an interview with The View. And a lot of concern, a lot of questions. You know, is this a free Wendy moment? Does she need this conservatorship still, Dustin? What is going on with her mental health? And just kind of, I'll get into it in the analysis, but if we look at what happened with the Britney of it all, and now we're seeing some analogous facts in terms of conservatorship and questions around mental health and substance abuse with Wendy Williams. I think the culture just wants to make sure we are supporting Wendy, who we generally love and adore and revere as a cultural icon, if nothing else. What's best for Wendy? I think most people just want to kind of get that right. And people have real questions about what that even looks like in this moment.
They want to know how's she doing.
How's she doing? How you doing? How's she doing?
Yeah.
And also, you know, what is really even best? Because sometimes we can think we know what that is, and then sometimes we may not have enough information. So we're going to get into that. And then also there's a story that we're going to bring to y'all today, jurors, that we've been sitting on. The news cycle had just been so rapid that we couldn't even get this story in, but now we've got an opportunity. This is a crazy ass story, but it raises a lot of good legal questions, Dustin, so I can't wait to talk about it with you. This white woman in Georgia, like so many Americans for various reasons, underwent IVF, and she was successful in her journey and was able to birth a beautiful, healthy baby boy. Only thing is she gave birth to a black son, and she is not in an interracial relationship. So she has some questions. And as you might imagine, some lawsuits are afoot, as we say. So we're going to get into, you know, what happens when you're excited, either you yourself or you and your partner, and we do the IVF and we have this beautiful baby, and it's not our baby. They have implanted the wrong embryo. It doesn't happen often. It does happen. What then legally are the options? So we're going to get into all of that and more. Who doesn't love the good things in life? Now, even though I enjoy a little luxury from time to time, it doesn't mean that I can always easily afford it. Until I discovered Quince. Quince is my go-to for luxury essentials at affordable prices. By partnering directly with the top manufacturers, Quince cuts out the middleman and passes those savings straight on to us. Quince only works with factories that use safe and ethical and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. I absolutely love it. I got this beautiful oatmeal-colored cashmere sweater from Quince, and I've worn it everywhere from picking up my daughter Liberty from daycare, running errands, and I might have even worn it on a date. Seriously, give yourself the luxury that you deserve. Go to quince.com/holdingcourt for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/holdingcourt to get free shipping and 365 returns. Quince.com/holdingcourt. Okay, so let's start with Wendy Williams. So much has been happening with Wendy for the past several years, from her Graves' disease to the Lifetime. Well, then, you know, her stepping down from the purple chair and leaving her show. Then we saw the Lifetime documentary, which was the first time many of us had seen Wendy in several years. Lots of mixed feelings on that. So recently here, we've seen her call into The Breakfast Club. We've seen her call into The View. Clearly, it's so clear to me, Dustin, that Wendy is actually using her biggest strength and her skill set, which is kind of using what we call the bully pulpit of mass media, using the microphone to get her side out. First, tell me from what you've heard of these interviews recently with Breakfast Club and The View, what is kind of your general conclusion about how Wendy is doing?
She seems present. She seems, there. She doesn't seem anything like what we saw in that documentary, the
Mm-hmm.
Lifetime documentary, where she was looking crazy on the couch and saying
Mm-hmm.
wild things to the manicurist, and
Mm-hmm.
and just seemed really spaced out or checked out.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't seem that way. When I saw her speaking, and as I'm listening to her speak in these interviews, I'm on pins and needles
Mm.
waiting for things to be
Anxious.
interrupted, or yeah, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But they've been going well. She sounds great. She sounds like she knows exactly what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
She's not speaking in circles.
Mm-hmm.
And so it begs the question of why she's so heavily restricted in her, everyday life. Why she can't communicate with people. I know there have been
Mm-hmm.
rumblings about her putting notes in the window saying "help me," and
Mm-hmm.
them trying to limit her communication. So it begs all those questions because from what
Yeah.
we see right now, Wendy
Yes.
seems to be doing okay.
Yeah. Well, let's get to some of these underlying facts and kind of help tease it out, Dustin. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
she originally was put into this legal guardianship in 2022, so about 3 years ago. We know that legal guardianship is essentially just like we think of a child having a guardian. This is where adults have other legally designated adults uh, act as their primary caretaker
Mm-hmm.
from a daily lived experience standpoint, responsible for making sure that they get fed and clothed and cleaned. So literally that. And also, the most importantly, as it relates to this, the financial piece. This legal guardian is entrusted and in charge of and has exclusive control, by the way, of their financial situation, from money coming in, money going out. This is the role of the guardian. So Wendy has had a legally designated guardian since 2022. As we
Mm-hmm.
said, Wendy called into The View last week to discuss the hospitalization. We know that she recently went into Lenox Hill here in New York for an
Mm-hmm.
assessment, cognitive testing. Wendy says we could hear her say and speak for herself that she, passed those tests with flying colors. She is not incapacitated. She is begging her guardian and the judge. Of course, we know the judge is the one who assigns and determines whether or not the guardian continues to be in this full capacity, is reduced in capacity, or eliminated outright. Wendy is literally saying, literally, get off my neck. Those were literally her words. She right now, Wendy is living here in New York in a memory care floor of a senior living facility. So she is what we used to call the old folks
Old
home.
folks
Literally.
home.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she's literally Wendy Williams
Nursing home.
living in the nursing old folks home, and
Mm-hmm.
specifically on a memory care floor. And typically that is for our elderly members of our families and communities that are suffering with dementia or Alzheimer's or something of that nature. Now, we do recall when we have been told, it's been reported that Wendy is suffering from a frontal temporal dementia diagnosis. Okay. In fact, there was reporting that it was very similar, if not the exact same, as the condition that Bruce Willis is suffering from. And we see that Bruce's health has really declined tremendously. Prayers for him. Now, Wendy also told the View co host that she is currently alcohol free. This is very important. But Wendy did admit on The View that she has relapsed historically. She did break her sobriety last year. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Now, she was joined by her care advocate, and this is the care advocate was from Connect Care Advisory Group, and said
Mm-hmm.
that so it's not just Wendy saying this, but this care advocate is also saying that Wendy did fantastic on these cognitive tests that were done recently here at Lenox Hill Hospital in New York City. So Wendy, a couple quotes from Wendy, because Dustin has said, like, she sounds pretty good. Well, what does she sound like? Actually, let's hear from Wendy ourselves.
But at this point in my life, I want to terminate guardianship and move on with my life, if that's possible at all.
So because it was a voluntary guardianship in the beginning, it was fine because Wendy wanted to get some discussion with her finances and get things together. What ended up happening was Wendy didn't realize that this person was going to take her whole entire life. She just thought someone was just going to come and protect her.
Exactly. And
what happened
played
was
really nice to me. Everybody played really nice to me. And I was like, okay, no problem. Where am I going next? I'm going to Connecticut. And it was the worst of all. It was worse than where I am in New York. And why am I there? They took my phone, so I can't call them. I have to call them. They can't call me. And as far as family, that was all I was calling. There were no friends that I could call because the guardian kept my phone.
Oh.
And I'm in this memory unit in Connecticut. And then I moved to New York after a year being in Connecticut. And it's the same thing. And here's my life.
Well, Wendy, if the guardianship were to end or there were changes made, where would you want to go and who would you want to live with?
First of all, I'm staying in New York. I don't want a guardian. You know what I'm saying? I don't put it this way. I don't want Sabrina, period. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want guardian. You know what I'm saying? I want to get out of guardian. It's been over 3 years. And you know what I'm saying? It's time for my money and my life to get back to status quo.
So we know co-host of The View, Sunny Hostin, read a statement from Wendy's court-appointed guardian. This is, just to have some balance to the segment. The guardian, Sabrina Moressi's attorney, said that, so this is the guardian's lawyer, said that Wendy Williams is legally incapacitated. That's their talking point. That she hasn't been kept from her family and that she's receiving excellent medical care. That's their statement, okay? But Wendy's saying something different. She's saying she wants to get out of this guardianship. It's been 3 years. She's ready to get her hands on her own money, and she's ready to get back to status quo. Now, a couple more things before we get into this. It is very important to note that a lot of what we saw go back to that Lifetime documentary, Dustin, was not just the kind of cognitive claims of being incapacitated and suffering from the dementia, but we also saw a lot of alcoholism.
Yeah, she was drinking. She was drinking like a motherfucker in that
She was holding on,
documentary.
to the bottle and literally like
In
bottles in
LA,
bed with
drinking.
her.
Mhm.
Yeah, it didn't look good, and we know that in fact some of the doctors had diagnosed a part of her dementia was from the disease piece, but some of this they're saying is alcohol-induced dementia because she has been drinking so much. We also know that Wendy has a history, although we don't know of any current use, but we know that there's a history of narcotic addiction as well, specifically cocaine, and Wendy has been public about that. Finally, Wendy is just saying she's ready to get out of this care facility. These are for people that are 80, 70, 90 years old. Wendy's only 60. And, we totally understand Wendy's point of view. She wants to breathe fresh air. She wants to be in her own space. She wants to be outside of this. But, it's a lot going on. And I think this is what I think. I think if the argument, Dustin, is that Wendy still needs to be in this legal guardianship exclusively because of the mental health or physiological cognitive inability.
Yeah.
I don't know that dog hunts, so to speak.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's enough evidence, medical evidence, to show us a strong enough conclusion that this woman is mentally incapacitated, like you said, I think. And that's why she very smartly, I do credit her with, is doing these interviews. She's calling up Charlemagne. She's calling up To The View. And she's demonstrating on her terms, right, to the general public that I'm fine. I have my wits about me. I have my faculties about me. And I can go about my business independently. And I think she's done a pretty good job of that. Where I hesitate to say, okay, free Wendy, get the shackles off her back, so to speak, and let this woman just roam around in her own accord, is I am concerned about the alcoholism. Because what we do know, and that's not to say that every alcoholic needs a guardian, but it is to say that if the alcohol is now being conflated with cognitive ability, which we do have some medical evidence pointing to that, Dustin, I think this is the problem. I think that the way it's being framed to the public is singular. It's that Wendy has this white woman guardian who ain't treating her right because they say she is mentally ill and incapacitated. And we as the public are saying, well, hold on now. Wendy don't
right
seem
to us.
crazy. Yeah. What'd you say?
She seemed all right to us, so we feel
Yeah.
like she seems all right to us. Why are these white people locking her up and taking her
Right.
money?
Right.
That's
Right.
what the large
That's what it's
conversation is
landing.
amongst.
That's what it's
Yeah.
landing like. And I understand that. But where I do want to have us all, including myself, slow this thing down
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is making space for the possibility that, because I don't know if some of y'all ever been around alcoholics for real, for like I'm talking about real alcoholics, like
Mm-hmm.
hardcore long-term alcoholics. They have good days and they have bad days. And over prolonged use of the toxin that is alcohol, and I say this as somebody who also drinks, so no
Yeah.
judgment, okay? But we
Yeah.
know it's a toxin. We know
But we're
this.
talking about alcoholics. This is
Yeah, we're talking
different.
about
Yeah.
alcoholics, right? We're talking about what the toxin of alcohol does to your body
Mm-hmm.
and mind over extended periods of abuse and
Mm-hmm.
time, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It can affect cognitive functioning.
Mm-hmm.
It can affect memory and judgment and decision making.
For sure.
So what I would like to see, this is what I would like to see, Dustin, is a medical, and actually a few, I would like at least 3 independent medical opinions that specifically speak to what is likely the conflation of Wendy's alcoholism, potentially substance abuse, even historically, because what we also know is even historic narcotic abuse can still show up in a CAT scan years later. It
Mm-hmm.
can still impact things years later. Yeah, we know this, okay? We know this from our own family. Some of y'all don't want to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it, okay? And then I want that assessed alongside the dementia piece, the cognitive functioning piece. Because somebody's saying, oh, she did great on these cognitive tests at Lenox Hill, but then somebody else over here talking about, well, the alcoholism piece is still a concern. We don't know what to do with that.
Right.
You know, you're
Right.
coming at us from
Right.
siloed analysis. I need some synthesis. We need to synthesize all the various pieces of her overall holistic well-being, so then the judge can say confidently and knowledgeably where Wendy's abilities lie right now, where her functioning is in place, and where it is compromised. And what
Mm.
I would expect is some level of reduced guardianship. But I'm gonna tell you the truth. I think a lot of us, and I was one of them, free free Britney. We talked about it here on this show. Free Britney, ain't nothing wrong with her. My argument around the Britney, I'll never forget it because I stand by this part of my argument, was that if Britney is lucid enough to go out and perform on global tour dates and bring in millions of dollars that all y'all eating on, including her daddy, then she's lucid enough to be turned free from this guardian. And I
Mm-hmm.
said it, and millions of other people said it. And what happened? Britney was made free.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all of us are looking at Britney today, and we're saying we don't think she needed that lockdown, as severe and financially hardening as it was. But most of us would agree that she needs some oversight.
And some pants. So sick of her in them little cotton panties dancing. In that cotton panty
Oh
dancing.
my
I'm so sick of
God.
that. Put some
It's
pants
giving,
on.
girl, it's giving bloomers. What
For
is that, Miss
real.
Brittany? So I think that's kind of a similar thing that I would apply to Wendy. Not
Mm-hmm.
exactly, but I think there is some similarities in the sense of, no, I don't think that Wendy needs every red cent coming through a guardian and this and that. But we have to acknowledge that even Wendy told us that the onset of this, let us not forget, y'all, this all started with the Wells Fargo account freeze.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And why was the account frozen? Because her motherfucking son
Mm-hmm.
was
Took what
out
was it,
here wilding.
$100,000?
That's it. And that was wrong. So Wells Fargo, which I hate, by the way, as a
Mm-hmm.
bank and an institution, racist as hell, fucked up,
Mm-hmm.
but also
Mm-hmm.
was well within their legal capacity to freeze the account because even Wendy said it was unapproved spending going on. So that tells us that there does need to be some level of oversight. I just don't think it needs to be as severe as it currently is.
Yeah.
I don't like this particular guardian, by the way. So I would like a reassignment and reassessment of a new independent guardian coming on
Mm-hmm.
at this point. I would like it reduced in capacity. But no, I am not convinced that we have enough medical evidence to say that Wendy will be best served and best cared for with zero oversight. I'm not
Yeah.
confident in that.
Yeah, she
Not today.
definitely needs something.
Yeah, I think she needs something, some level of oversight. It's sad to watch overall, but I do believe that we all, want to see the best for Wendy, that we all want to see Wendy, ultimately be healthy and live in her best life at this stage of her career and everything she has given the culture.
Mm-hmm.
But this ain't it. This ain't it. This really, really ain't it. Now we know, lastly, Wendy has been taken to the hospital by police after dropping those notes that you talked about, Dustin.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this I think we need more evidence. This, to me, this is TBD. We need more assessment, more evidence, and we need to stop conflating the mental health piece and the substance and alcohol abuse piece and acting as if she doesn't have massive deficiencies over here, then that
Mm-hmm.
means she's totally okay. Because
Mm-hmm.
I just think we know better than that.
We definitely do. Something wrong, but
Something wrong, but I don't know that it's what they're saying is wrong. And I think
right.
that's what Wendy ain't saying that, but that's what I'm saying. I think Wendy would love to say ain't nothing wrong. And I
Wendy
think,
saying, let me out. Shit,
yeah,
that's what Wendy
Wendy's
saying.
Wendy's saying give us free. But yeah, and I think she needs some freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that she need to be all the way, because I think there was an over course correction with Britney Spears that I don't think is serving Britney Spears. And I think if we all
Right.
had that to do over again, we might make a modified choice. And that's what I'd like to see for Wendy. Let's have some modification. Who doesn't love the good things in life? Now, even though I enjoy a little luxury from time to time, it doesn't mean that I can always easily afford it. Until I discovered Quince. Quince is my go-to for luxury essentials at affordable prices. By partnering directly with the top manufacturers, Quince cuts out the middleman and passes those savings straight on to us. Quince only works with factories that use safe and ethical and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. I absolutely love it. I got this beautiful oatmeal colored cashmere sweater from Quince, and I've worn it everywhere from picking up my daughter Liberty from daycare, running errands, and I might have even worn it on a date. Seriously, give yourself the luxury that you deserve. Go to quince.com/holdingcourt for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/holdingcourt to get free shipping and 365 returns. Quince.com/holdingcourt. All right, y'all, moving on. This is a crazy story, but it's all too real. A Georgia woman, her name is Christina Murray. It's spelled very creatively. R- Krystena. Is this the part where I try to be funny, Dustin, and say that this is why they put the black embryo in her? The embryologist looked at the damn petri dish and said,
I know where this would go.
right? Oh man, I'm gonna have to really pray on that one. So I don't
Woo!
get too much smoke from God
Mm-hmm.
above.
That
A
was
white
funny.
woman named Christina Murray says that she, quote, unknowingly and unwillingly carried a child all throughout pregnancy to full term who is not biologically related to her. She only learned after delivering the baby boy that he was literally not of any biological connection to her. He was literally a pretty brown skinned little baby boy. And this is a very
Mm-hmm.
white woman who used a white donor. Murray had to then give custody of this baby to his biological parents 5 months later. And I will say, as somebody who has now carried a child, despite the biological connection, there is a connection to any child
Absolutely.
that
Why the
you
fuck
carry.
would they let that baby stay 5 months?
Right. And then this baby stayed 5 months, so she's probably breastfeeding or caring, even if not
Oh
formula
no.
feeding and caring and bonding, right? Because this is the other thing I want to say too. So biologically and genetically, there is no connection. But when you carry a baby, keep in mind there is still some physiological
Mm-hmm.
connection, because that is still your blood coursing through the vein of the babies. That is still your hormones coursing through the veins of the system of the baby. So although not genetically connected, physiologically, so beyond just the kind of I'm the container for the baby, there is a physiological connection of blood and, fluids and different things coursing through both the baby and the mother. So that is a real physiological connection in addition to the emotional one. So this is very, very real. So after 5 months of caring for the baby is taken from her and full custody rights given to the biological parents of that embryo and now baby boy. So who is this woman, Christina Murray? She's a wedding photographer. She lives in Savannah, Georgia. She decided to conceive. She did the same thing I did. She was a single mom by choice. She decided to conceive with the help of a sperm donor. She used Coastal Fertility Specialist, which operates in South Carolina and Georgia. She went through IVF. Yeah, this is the exact same thing I did. So, this was a little triggering. I ain't gonna hold you when I read the headline. And I'll get into it. She chose a sperm donor who was white. She had a white donor, dirty blonde hair and blue eyes. So when she had this, well, let me keep reading.
We didn't need to know he had dirty blonde hair. I don't like. Now I was with her ass until she said the dirty blonde hair and blue. We don't need to know that you pick. You could have just said you picked a white donor and had a black child. We don't need to know that with dirty blonde hair and blue eyes. Like stop. That feels like you romanticizing the aesthetic a little bit. And I ain't really with that. Right, but do it in private. Don't be telling us that shit. Because that sounds anti-black. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Dustin said, because it is. Dustin
I don't
said,
like that.
If he was counsel to Christina with a KRS.
Right. First thing I'd have said, we issuing your name change spelling papers.
Right. He said, we going to leave off this fantasizing of the extra Aryan aesthetic. It's definitely giving that. And I do know for a fact that is a thing in these donor communities. Oh my God. Don't even get me started on that. So anyways, she chooses this donor. They do the embryo transfer in 2023. She ultimately gives birth in December of the same year. She said she immediately knew something was wrong. And if y'all Google this and see the photos, that's why Dustin cracking up. Because it's not like, you know how some black people give birth to babies that be real light? And it hits the whole Cat Williams of it all. Who is this white baby and all of this? Liberty was extremely light when she was first born. This is very common. This is very common. But then we all know babies get more color as they get older.
And that's generational. Sometimes you have relatives that are more fair skinned or more darker complexion, and it just, through your genes, it surfaces in different ways. So you never really know. But
Dustin is laughing because when y'all go to look at this beautiful baby boy, it ain't no ambiguity. It ain't no light skinned did nothing. This ain't no Creole. This ain't no biracial. This ain't that. So this wasn't even like, maybe they used the wrong sperm, right? Like maybe they gave me a black or brown donor sperm with my egg, and this could still be my. No.
This is not her child.
This ain't. You ain't the mammy.
It was her intended child.
And dirty blonde definitely ain't the pappy.
And there's no facial features. Again, complexion is a crazy thing, right? Yeah. Like the color of your skin can vary for a lot of different factors, but typically you'll still have similar features,
right?
Or a facial structure. It'd just be a different
color.
Nose, a chin, some semblance,
Yeah, no. This was like almost like a sketch cop. It's surreal, y'all. I do implore you to Google it so you can see the image for yourself. Very beautiful, dark-skinned black baby boy. So she says this: the birth of my child was supposed to be the happiest moment of my life. And honestly, it was, she goes on to say. But it was also the scariest moment of my life. She did hold a news conference, adding that she was terrified that the baby boy would be taken away from her. And then this was sad, right? She says that all the love and joy I felt seeing him for the first time was immediately replaced by fear. And how could this have happened? And that's what I know all of y'all are wondering. How the hell did this happen? DNA test, of course, results that this was not her biological baby in any way. Her attorney has let Coastal Fertility Specialists know, put them on notice in early 2024. The clinic then identified the baby's biological parents, who are not named in the lawsuit. Of course, they're not. They did nothing wrong. Right. They confirmed through a DNA test that this was their child, and then they sued for custody, and they were successful, and that's how they got their child back. Also, I just want to know how devastating this whole thing has to be for them, too. When you create an embryo, 9 out of 10 times, or certainly the majority of the time, there is either a plan for you or someone of your choosing to carry that child to life and to birth. So for you to can you imagine getting an email or a phone call like, Mr. Ross, remember that embryo you put on ice? Good news, congratulations, you a whole daddy. You a
Yeah,
whole
this
damn
is
daddy.
wild. And
You a
I
whole
mean,
damn daddy. And by the way, your child is 5 months. So by the way, you've also missed out on the first 5 months of your kid's life. It is so
wow.
sad. So she didn't pull like a Lifetime movie situation where she tried to keep the baby. She did go ahead and
Hmm.
voluntarily hand the baby over to his biological parents. But it was very, very agonizing, as y'all can imagine, for her. So y'all hear this lawsuit is writing itself. She said she
Hmm.
walked in a mom with a child and baby who she had loved and had loved her and was attached, and she walked out empty-handed. Very sad. I grew him, I raised him, I loved him. I saw him no different than if he were mine, my own genetic embryo.
Mm.
Now Christina, now
And then you're gonna say you
Christina.
saw him no different.
Yeah,
Girl,
now.
you
Uh,
saw him very different. That's why you had a
that's
pregunta when you held
that's
that
what
baby. Okay.
right. That's why you said we need to get Maury Povich on the line and get this
Okay.
DNA test. And that's okay. And that's very, by the way, understandable. That's very
Of
understandable.
course. Of course.
Yeah.
Anybody would. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
yes. It's like,
So,
okay, flag on the play. So Murray's attorney has said that she has not been able to get an answer as to whether or not any of her own embryos were transferred to another couple, which would be my question
mm.
too. So this clearly wasn't my embryo. So where the fuck is my embryo? Are they still in storage, or did y'all make another mistake and transfer my actual genetic embryo into another woman? It was turned into this is what she was, and this is true. She was turned into an unwilling and unknowing surrogate against her
Hmm.
will for another couple. And by the way, I'm so sure that couple didn't want you to be their surrogate either. So this works both
Yeah.
ways.
This is fucked up, and they need to sue. They need to
They
definitely,
definitely
yeah.
gonna sue. Oh, it's no way they're not gonna sue. When it comes to assisted reproduction, no agency or authority tracks or polices this kind of substantial and needless error. This is what a law professor says, and he directs us to the center, or where he directs the Center for Health Law Policy and Bioethics at the University of San Diego. So,
Hmm.
the long story short is, jurors, how does this happen? This is
A
just
damn
almost like
shame.
this is a legally, this is a
That's what
damn
this
shame.
is.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. This is the worst kind of just mistake,
Whew.
lack of oversight. I mean, it's the kind of thing that you're so gutted. I hear this as a woman who literally just went through this process
Hmm.
myself, and I could not imagine, Dustin. I'm not gonna hold you. I could not imagine any aspect of this. I couldn't imagine if they misplaced or mixed up my embryo. I couldn't imagine
Hmm.
carrying for 9 months and then birthing, in my case, for 45 fucking hours of labor,
Mm,
a
mm, mm,
child that
mm.
ultimately not only wasn't mine biologically, but then you had the nerve to take it away from me 5 months later.
Mm,
It's
mm,
all
mm.
fucking horrible. And also, this is human mistake.
Mhm.
Doesn't excuse it. They're going to have to pay millions up for both this woman, Christina, as well as the black biological parents of the boy. But it is one of those, the court would almost say, act of God, a kind of
Mhm.
unforeseeable mistake. Not the type of thing that should happen. There should be such labeling done during this process, such double, triple, quadruple checking, making
Checks.
sure you're
Yes.
looking at the numbers and the this and that. And I ain't gonna hold you. I was very, because I'm half crazy. So when I went in
Mhm.
for my embryo transfer, and when you go in, just for those who have no idea what this process is really like, you can actually watch. Like, so your feet, as the woman getting the embryo
Mhm.
implanted in her, are in the stirrups, just like
Mhm.
they would be for a pap smear.
Mhm.
And there's a monitor, and at almost every clinic and facility, they allow you to look at the monitor as they literally, there's like the little clinic room right beside y'all, and the embryologist, who is not the one that puts the embryo in you, that's going to be your actual reproductive physician. Okay,
Mhm.
that's going to be yeah, your RE. They are going to actually do the implementation, but the embryologist is the one that does the handoff, if you will. Okay, they're looking under the microscope. They're double, triple, quadruple checking. This is indeed this woman's embryo that we froze under her name and under her ID number. And then they're going to hand that off to the doctor. And then he is literally going to, or he or she or them are going to implant you as you watch on the monitor the embryo go from the dish, the petri dish, into your canal, we'll say, and
Mhm.
right
Mhm.
into your
Mhm.
uterus. And you can
Mhm.
see it.
Mhm.
And it is fascinating.
And it needs to be verified in that way. It needs to be a process that is monitored and confirmed. It's the
And
most
lots of
serious thing
eyeballs
you can
on it.
do. Lots. So how
Yes.
did it?
Lots of
Coastal
eyeballs.
fertility. They was at the beach. Where was they at that day? You know, so where was the manager? Who
Well,
was
you
the
fuck, man.
MOD?
This is a fuck up among fuck ups. Yeah, so I was definitely
What?
all in my doctor. You showed that this might now look at the label now. Now look at it again. I really was. You can ask
Well,
Nat. She was
honey,
there with me
all you gotta do
because
is look at Liberty, and when
yeah,
she smiled her little cheeks, she looked
them big.
just
That
like
about to
her
say
mama.
big old pie face just like a
She
mama.
looked
Shout out
just
to
like her
baby
mama.
Liberty.
So cute.
But I was
So cute.
I ain't gonna hold y'all. The point I'm making is it did cross my mind. It did cross. I would be lying if I said it didn't cross my mind. And we happen to be single moms by choice. I've heard couples, married couples, could go together couples, hetero couples, same sex couples. This is a check, verify, triple check, quadruple check, and even then something still could go wrong. So part of
Meticulous.
me is like, this is horrible. This is the worst kind of fuck up. Coastal, y'all motherfuckers got to pay up and pay up big. And also any of us that go under this IVF journey, this is kind of known that it is an inherent risk of the nature of the procedure. And that's just what it is. I know, right? It's
So
real though.
heartbreaking. My
Yeah.
heart breaks for her, for Crystal, and for the family, the parents of that baby. My heart, and for the
Yeah.
baby. You know what I mean?
And for the
That's
baby, yeah.
traumatic.
What a story. What a story that you eventually. First of all, I think that babies feel everything. You know, I really do. It's very clear to me. Like I could see it in Little Liberty. She might not have the words,
But
but
she's
she's
aware.
acutely aware. Oh, baby, absolutely. And he knows some shit is afoot. And will know even further when he gets older and is able to see the press conference and read about his origin story. So, and he gonna get a check too. Watch. So
Hell yeah.
everybody's gonna be sued. Everybody's going to sue rather Coastal Fertility and likely the doctor involved and the embryologist. Everybody that played a part in what should have been the safe and effective transfer of embryo to transfer to birth is gonna have to pay out.
Hell
This is, and if you're wondering what the legal remedy is, this is a failure of a duty that they had as a facility of a duty to care.
They had
There's
one
a duty
job.
to care, yeah, man. And you talk about fucking it up. So shout out to Crystal. Shout out to the little beautiful baby. Certainly shout out to the biological family. And this is a doozy. But this is one of those ones where if you're thinking about or find yourself in future need of IVF, run them numbers.
Yeah.
Check them numbers. There's no such thing as being too careful. And I don't care if they act like you getting on their nerves, because they definitely
Get
act like
on
I'm
'em.
getting on their nerves, and I ain't give a fuck.
Nope.
We got this one. We got to get right.
Fucking right.
We
Hell
got to
yeah.
get it right. All right, that's all. That's it, jurors. Thank y'all so much. We so love and appreciate you. We will be back same time, same place. Court will be back in session. In the meantime, stay safe. Step into spring as the springing is springing. And I mean, this is the most literal episode I can think of when Dustin says what to do next. So go ahead and tell him, Dustin.
Read your terms, conditions, and embryo labels. That's what you need to read. Okay.
Closely, very closely. Holding Court is produced by Uppity Productions. Host and executive producers here, Eboni K. Williams, yours truly, and the Dustin Ross. Executive producer in Dossie, McCraw. Our senior producer, Ashley Hobbs. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any and everywhere you get your podcast.